And welcome back to another episode of this I can't even say the name of my channel. Welcome back to another episode of Pokemon Knowledge. Now, there's one name that is very synonymous with the history of this channel, and that is the man that's on the screen right now today, Mr. Basic Trainer himself. If you guys do not know who Basic Trainer is, just go into the search bar of my channel and write in Basic Trainer. He's been on this channel more time than literally anyone else in the history of this hobby, with the exception of maybe the podcast. But for when a single guest, Basic is hands down the number one guest. So I'm not going to really do the backstories or anything like that, but I want to just get right into it. Mr. Basic Trainer, it's been a little bit since I've talked to you. How's everything going? Last time I saw you was at Charlotte Collecticon.
Charlotte Collecticon. Doesn't feel like it was that long ago, but with all the Collecticons going on, I mean, they feel like they're just back to back to back now. And now, with next year with a whole slew, I mean, it's gonna be even worse. But yeah, definitely, man. It's always fun coming in, man. Thank you for the invite.
Yeah, there's a lot of things I want to talk to you about. This is not a MetaZoo channel, but you're as deep into MetaZoo as literally anyone else. Like the center of your background right now is the Mothman from MetaZoo. So I do want to ask you some questions about MetaZoo, but I'm probably gonna ask you a little later into live. Keep it Pokemon at the beginning because there's a lot of crazy stuff going on with MetaZoo right now, and I've always made the joke that it's going to be a dead TCG, but they're going in a pretty poor direction right now. And I know you haven't been happy with it, but before we get into that, I know you are planning something really, really, really big for the new year. And it's something, if anybody is familiar with your channel, we've always like teased it in the past, the what if, but you're going to do the first ever, I think the first ever Pokemon 24-hour live stream. Is that correct?
The first time ever for myself. I'm pretty sure there's others that have done it at some capacity, but
In Pokemon, I don't know. Maybe there has, but
there's got to be some streamer out there that either streamed a game play or opening packs. There's got to be some other person out there. Yeah, for sure. And honestly, without knowing, because you just kind of said, "Hey, man, you want to hop on live?" I was like, "Oh crap! Am I going to get ambushed here for the MetaZoo or what? Or is it the latest news?" But I'm down, man. I'm down.
don't worry, the MetaZoo talk's coming. But I saw your 24-hour live stream. It looks like you're just gonna do a open invite to a pretty decent size group of people. So are you just expecting somebody to come through like most of the time? Because it will get tough to talk to the camera if you, in a hypothetical situation, went 24 hours without anybody joining, man.
I think for the normal person, it would be tough to just sit there for 24 hours and just talk. I don't know if I would deem myself as a normal person. I'm definitely a yapper. I can yap on and just go on forever and go on rants and go on tangents. So 24 hours though is a whole different monster. I think my record, I remember I was going for the record that Dan and Pokenomics held for for a little bit.
Was that
Because
like a 8.5, 9 hour live right around that
it was
timeline?
something along those lines. And I remember, right, joking around. I was like, there's no, they don't have the record because they had alcohol to help them, even though I also, do that on mine. But no, I had to go for it. I had to go for it and take that record back. And I think it went for 13 hours.
Wow.
And it was fairly easy as long as there was people there. There were people there the entire time. I believe some of the spicy boys shut it down with me. But 24 hours, maybe someone in the chat can remind me the 24-hour conversation happened during the stream at some point. And I think actually going back to the Dan and Jake stream they had, and when I broke it, the next conversation was 24 hours. And then after that, you guys have been bashing
Oh
me
yeah.
about it for about a year, almost a year. Hey, where's the 24-hour stream? Where's the 24-hour stream? So here it is.
Yeah, the thumbnail you made for that is insane. It's just like anybody who's on that thumbnail has an open invite, and there had been, I didn't count, but how many names did you have on there? 60 plus?
Oh, it was 60
How
plus. Yeah, yeah, for
how
sure.
long did that thumbnail take to make? Because it looked pretty daunting, man.
So funny enough, I forget the app that I use. Honestly, what took the longest is finding every single person and finding the right picture. At first, I was just gonna go with, the typical make everyone look nice, right? And smiling. Until I ran across a few that was like, oh, that's hilarious. And then I thought about, oh, PK with the Pikachu hat, with the Van Gogh hat.
Yeah.
And then after I did like 30 pictures, I was like, scrap that. We're erase the whiteboard. We're gonna grab the funny meme pictures that we can grab for everyone. Not everyone had them, but that was probably that's definitely what took the longest. That took hours upon hours to find the right picture for every single person.
Yeah.
As far
So
as laying out the thumbnail, with the wrong app, I spent about an hour or so. And then once I was given the right app, shout out Ivy, she's like, hey, how come you just don't use this? And I was like, oh, great idea. And then I just went ahead and used the Canva is what I used, and boom, it literally took me about an hour to make that.
yeah. Well, shout out to Ivy. And shout out to Ivy too. She has a new TCG garage in Las Vegas. Were you at the grand opening? Have you seen the
No, I wasn't able to make it. I really wanted to, but wasn't able to make it for that one.
yeah.
But
And
hopefully, yeah, soon I can make it out there and buy out all the MetaZoo.
yeah, I see her in the chat right now, and I see her name's not Queen MetaZoo anymore. I see it's Ivy, so maybe Ivy's a little disappointed in MetaZoo, but basic, I don't know if you know this. I'm a big MetaZoo promo guy now. I have one of the most limited promos in all of MetaZoo.
One of the most limited promos. Oh,
All right, can we just I this is how this came out of the packet. Look at this. Do you see the card? In the card saver one came out of the penny sleeve. So,
oh, really?
yeah, so Mr. Dan, Catch 'em All Collectibles, this is the way you ship this card to me. I never touched it.
Unacceptable.
In a card saver one, look at that's the bottom of the card, that's the bottom of the penny sleeve inside.
That's
Mr.
unacceptable.
Dan, so this is Dan's promotional MetaZoo card. It's got his little KA stamp right there, Catch 'em All.
So
And then Dan signed it.
I'm sorry to burst your bubble, PK, and everyone else's. Dan, you know I love you, but it is not the most limited at
Oh, it
500
is. It
prints.
is.
At
Listen,
500
if you say it
prints.
on the internet, if you read it on the internet, it's true. So
With that said, it is the only promo that is guaranteed to yield you at least
$20.
at least your $20.
So do you want so for people out there who don't know what that means, do you want to explain to them why it has a floor value of $20?
Yeah, so Dan's last video, his last MetaZoo video, his most recent one, he talked
Well,
about his 500, 5 bricks of this
yeah.
promo, the
And
Earth
tell them
Aura.
what is this promo even from? Like, why does he even have these to begin with?
So that was from the native release. The native release, probably one of the best sets they've dropped yet. And what MetaZoo did, they pretty much included these promos with each individual partner's name or what do you call it, like logo or
Yeah.
branding. So very unique, it's very rare for that standpoint because it came from MetaZoo. So that's pretty awesome. Some partners make their own. The fact that MetaZoo did this is the first time, really any TCG that I'm aware of has done something like this. So it's pretty awesome. But Dan said, after taking him, how long did it take him to release these?
Forever.
Right, forever.
Yeah.
Lost opportunities, but lost opportunities on his end. We gained from those, and so now we were able to get those for $20. He mentioned that anybody that pretty much supported him in one of his MetaZoo streams was going to get one. And he said for those that are buying one, $20, 19.99, right, on eBay.
Yeah, 1999.
At any point, as
Taxes.
long as he's living, right? I believe the contract is dead once he's no longer
Once
with
he's
us.
dead. But we'll, at his funeral, we'll go up to his wife and be like, I know you're a widow. I'm sorry for your loss, but by the way, your husband owes me $20.
But Dan Catch 'em All Collectibles said that if you go up to him, you give him the promo, he will hand you back $20. You got to give up the promo, but
Yeah.
he'll give you $20 back. There's no other card that guarantees you your money back, and this is the only one in the hobby. So that's pretty awesome, pretty cool, pretty unique.
See, the way Dan should have done it was if you go up to him, you get $20. But every time you go up to him at an event, he gives you $1. That would have been better. So then it encourages you to never sell it, right? Because if you never sell it, you're like, hey, why would I sell this card? Every time I go up and I see Dan, I get $1. So in theory, you go to 4 events a year, that's $4. And he would have to number the cards so he knows you're not just handing them to your friends, be like, here, go up to Dan, show him this card, you'll get $1.
Here's the thing, and this is, I'm going to give this little cheat code for free. I'm definitely going to make this play as soon as he puts more out there. But think about it. If you're buying it for $19.99 and you just forget that you have to pay shipping and taxes, and you go up to him and he gives you $20 back, you give him the card, you just made a penny. What do? You go buy another one and repeat the process, rinse and repeat, and eventually in this lifetime you will become a millionaire doing this.
I think taxes and fees would eat you up a little bit too much. But sure, I mean, this is Pokemon. That's how we look at numbers. So.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, I guess it's technically a MetaZoo. But I see you got 2 cards behind you. You got one of the most photographed cards in the entire hobby in the Ponichu. And then the second one, is that the Charizard you pulled at the Leonhardt pop-up shop?
That's Leonhardt. Yeah, that's sir. Leonhardt Charizard.
So I was there when you did that. For anybody that doesn't know, me and Basic Trainer and Rock Pokemon, we all went down to Leonhardt pop-up shop. So, man, can you think, was that January 20 or February 2021?
January 30th, 2021.
Wow, it was that long ago, January. So we're coming up on the 2-year anniversary of that event.
Actually, that might have been that. Actually, I'm getting that date wrong. It's the 28th.
No, 3-year anniversary.
28th, yeah.
Wow. So next month will be the 3-year anniversary from the first time I met you in person. That's wild. Time flies, man.
Dude, it seems like yesterday. And it seems like it was this year that we just went to that. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. You pulled the Charizard. I pulled, if anybody's ever curious, that Mewtwo right there is the card I pulled at the Leonhardt pop-up shop. It graded a 10. And believe it or not, that base set blister pack that has the G.I. Joe pack in it, that was the blister pack that card came out of. But that G.I. Joe pack actually came from Basic Trainer. So when we were at the Leonhardt pop-up shop, it was right after the Logan Paul G.I. Joe fiasco. So he was just dishing out a ton of G.I. Joe packs to a lot of people. So
yes, sir. And sorry, I had to get up to get this because it's been a while since I had it out. And once the move, I just had to keep it out on display. But I resealed it.
Oh, okay.
Resealed it, and with G.I. Joe packs, with G.I. Joe cards in here. And I mean, yeah, that was such an epic time in the hobby. I mean, when this is the only pack that I kept for myself from the three booster boxes that I bought and handed out to the kids and whatnot. But man, that, as I said before, G.I. Joe will forever be ingrained in the Pokemon hobby. Before that happened, before 2020, G.I. Joe Pokemon, they don't go together. And now they're forever intertwined.
Yep, we're all duped. We're all duped.
We're all duped.
Agreed.
But
yeah, no, it's wild that was that long ago. And so, what are you doing in Pokemon right now? Because I know right after the pop-up shop, you got into your first Collecticon. I want to say you did Long Beach, right? Was their first one? Because you had just got like a big 500 card PSA submission back. You had some pretty big heaters in there. I remember one of the cards that really stuck out to me was the Rayquaza from EX Dragon in a PSA 10 you hit, and I love that card. That's for being a smaller set and being obviously Dragon Pokemon from a Dragon set is just hit that card in a 10. That was a home run for you. But you sold almost that entire PSA submission. I remember you were like, how many? I think you went with 500, right?
In total, if I recall, I think I left with 560 something cards, all slabbed. I came back with 12.
Wow. So you sold 540 cards.
And that was because the last buyout, they did not want the trainer rares PSA 10s, which I'm like, okay, fine. But I was like, I could still make, I mean, each one will go for $50 to $100. They didn't want it because they didn't want trainer cards.
When you say trainer rare, are you talking the base set trainer rares like Imposter Professor Oak and Lass cards like that?
Correct.
So then they want that. because it's a trainer and they don't
I,
know
I don't
Pokemon.
want
Probably
to I don't want
whoever
to
was
call
buying it.
them I don't want to call them you know what, I'll label it was just ignorance on their end. You know, they saw it as a trainer and they didn't see much value in it. But I'm like, okay, well, I sure, fine, I can sell this on my own. And long story short, I sold them. And I just threw them on auction. I was like, look, I'm already good with Long Beach and my results there.
Yep.
I threw them all on auction, and I believe they went something like $1,100 for the 12 slabs. I think it was actually like 10 or 11 slabs that I sold. I kept
Wow.
one. Um, yeah, so it's like, yeah, if that's fine, like I won just from even that standpoint, them giving me those cards back.
Yeah, I remember talking to you right after that happened, and that was just sort of you were always obviously you were always deep into Pokemon. Like if people don't know, Basic Trainer has unopened or sealed booster box. You still have all your unopened booster boxes, like your base set unlimited, your fossil, your jungle,
Yeah.
right?
I haven't sold or opened any of my vintage sealed boxes. Yeah, I
And I
still
know
have
when it comes to tops, you had a ton of tops boxes too, because you liked tops before tops was
the
cool.
best
So
set.
Basic's been around for super long, and that's how he's been able to acquire all these cards. But during all that time, you never really graded cards. And if you did grade cards, you never sent them yourself. You always sent them to a middleman, whether it's Luckins or Graded Gem or anything like that. And I know after Long Beach, you said you kind of felt the itch. You were like, okay, this could be something. I mean, if you're selling 540 cards in person, I could see how you feel the itch. Have you kept going after that, or you kind of pulled back a little bit?
So yeah, if you recall, I was going for my flipper's license, right? And
Yeah, the
I
flipper
was
license.
doing it for a little bit. I think, I don't know, 2 months, 3 months. Um, and this, you know, with me, this is just what's going to happen. One jumps overleaps the other, and that's when MetaZoo announced the 50K regional, aka the tower tournaments.
Hmm.
And so the flippers license kind of went on the wayside. It just, you know, I've got to go for the big bags, right? You got to go for the really big money bags. So with the small player pool I knew existed, the odds were just, you know, with me or each individual
Yeah.
versus like, you know, buying and grading and waiting 2 or 3 months. So and it was fun, you know, on top of that. But yeah, that's what happened. It slowed me down from that standpoint. But you know, now with kind of that's going away, I've been getting back into it. I've gotten a couple subs back now, and now I'm just kind of debating where, you know, I've got a ton of slabs. Literally, a whole table is just full of slabs. I don't know if I want to turn this around, but it's just, I've got a table full of slabs. I don't even know what to do with them. I've got to go and vend at least one time. I'm
Yeah.
sure I'll get rid of them all, and yeah, and then I think we'll go from there.
So I know they just released the Collecticon schedule, and I'm sure you've already looked at it multiple times over. So 12 events, are any of the Collecticons you're going to this year?
Oh man, there's way too many good ones.
Because you're in
Essentially,
Texas, for anybody that doesn't know. So Collecticon being from Texas, you're pretty close to a lot of these. At least you could make the drive if you had to.
yeah, I like it because I'm in San Antonio, and that puts me in the middle of Houston and Dallas. So those are nice, and there's going to be four total within those two cities. Those are easy drives. Don't know if I'll make every single one of those because unless I just go and come back the same day, you're still dealing with, you know, hotel nights and, you
Yeah.
know, dinners and whatnot. And so, but yeah, there's definitely a few cool ones. I think automatically for me, I got to go to one of my pet peeves with the schedule is them calling it Chicago. It's not Chicago, it's Rosemont. Rosemont is a suburb, and those Chicagoans, anyone in the chat, this is
You
that's from
lived in
Chicago.
Chicago too for a while, right?
Born and raised in
Born and
Chicago.
raised. Okay.
Yeah. So, and I've been here for 2 years now. So, yeah. So it'll be in Rosemont, but you know, it's just nice to go back, you know, to my city and getting to see it. So that was, I think it's automatic for me for sure. I don't know about New Jersey. So as far as the new ones, I don't know about New Jersey, even though that's the one that you guys are going for sure, right?
Yeah.
But
I mean,
I'm
it's
just
two
not
and a half
hearing.
hour drive for me, so I'll
Yeah.
be there.
Other than you guys being the positive, everything else just doesn't look like it's, you know, worth it. It's all the way out to the Northeast, you know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know yet, but Atlanta is one that I want to make it. LA for sure. That's month number 3. Yeah, so I'm forgetting the other big one. There's another big city. It's Atlanta, LA. We're gonna have to pull up the schedule maybe.
So how are you able to make it work all these times, like doing all the traveling and stuff and not really vending? Because I mean, it could get pricey when you start to add in hotel rooms and food and flights and everything to be able to go to multiple of these a year. Are you just doing it because you love it, or were you doing it mainly because you're also kind of in a way double dipping with the MetaZoo tournaments that were going on at the same time for a lot of these?
Well, for the first year, 2020, I was just going to every single one. And when 2021 came around, it was a there was a couple that I didn't make. I think Orlando was the only one I didn't make, and Kansas City I didn't make, but all the others I went. 2023 is when MetaZoo got in the way. And
Okay,
so, but yeah, it's just I like to travel. I like to travel. That to me is where I have zero problem splurging. I'm a minimalist by nature, and other than the hobby, right? From
yeah,
that standpoint, I'm a hoarder. But outside of the hobby, I'm a minimalist.
yep.
Really, I don't buy much. It's not. But when it comes to travel, splurge away. Like I forget the quote, but it's you have to be frugal, be frugal in most areas so you can splurge in the ones that you really love.
Sure. It's funny you say that because I found in this hobby, you find some of the most frugal people. And it was just when we were driving down to Charlotte Collecticon, I was in the car with Nick Old School Pokemon, Jake Pokenomics on the drive there, the drive back, and we were having conversations and I was talking to him. I'm like, in my normal life, like I don't just spend money willy-nilly, but in this hobby, like both those guys in the car, they're doing tens of thousands of dollars on a month. They're, transacting money back and forth through this hobby. And the amount of money that is transacted versus like how people act, everybody's super frugal. And like Jake had the best quote, and I'm not going to get into Jake's finances, but Jake was like, I spent this much money this month, and it was an insane amount of money. And he goes, and when I go to Chipotle PK, I don't get guac, and I like guac, but I don't get guac because it's an extra $3. Like he's like, but the numbers he was throwing out in that car ride were big five-figure numbers. I'll put it that way, and but yet he's still so frugal that he didn't want to spend $3 to get guac. And it's the same way for me, and it's a lot of people in this hobby. And shout out to Rusty TCA Gaming too. Rusty has literally one of the most massive, most valuable, most impressive collections you'll not just ever come across or ever see in your life, ever come across. And one of the things that Rusty talks about all the time is going out to dinner and stuff and maybe just skip. I think the way he phrases it is like just skipping the sweet tea and getting the water because you're going to save yourself however much money a sweet tea cost. And throughout this hobby, I found that has been a constant for people, that people are super frugal in
Yeah.
their normal life, but in Pokemon, you throw that out the window a little bit.
One of the biggest expenses, and that people always try to debate that's not the case, it's eating.
Yeah,
And people say, oh, it's not that cheap anymore to eat at home, you might as well just go out. I beg to differ.
yeah,
I never eat out unless I'm traveling. Right now you're forced to, but I cook every single day. I cook every single day. I prefer my cooking over any restaurants unless it's like top shelf of the top shelves.
yeah.
Yeah, like my cooking is way better than any restaurant I can go to. So that's one way. But a lot of people spend a lot of money, going out to eat on a daily basis, even a few times, daily. And if you really look at those expenses, man, that could pay for every month. That could probably pay for a single Collecticon.
Yeah. No, you're right. When you think about it, when you add up all those little, and that's the thing with just life in general, and especially this hobby too, sometimes is if you find out you just nickel and dime yourself, it's like $5 here, $10 here, $20 here, and then the day goes by and it's like, oh, I just spent 60 extra dollars that I probably didn't have to spend if I didn't want to. And then you multiply 60 times, a month, and you're like, oh, yeah, that is a flight and hotel.
Yeah, it's the funniest thing. I struggle. I just the other day I went to the store and I needed a few things for home, and I'm looking at this and I'm like, man, I'm like, this is cool. I should get it. $25. I struggled so much to
Mhm.
pull the trigger. Literally 2 days later, I bought a Pikachu for $400, and it's like, yeah, that's like, and it's almost like we have this. We, we've just become so used to the prices in Pokemon, and regardless of the jumps, ups and downs, and what have you, and the current change and the constant changes in the market, we just attribute certain values to certain cards, and you're like, yeah, that's normal. We're
Yeah.
desensitized to that spending, but $25 on a dumb item that I'm just gonna probably not even use, like, yeah, no, thank you.
Yeah, well, I hear you, man. Like I will drive an extra mile down the road to save 10 cents on gas. Like I'm still at that mindset, where like, oh, I could go stop at this gas station. It'll probably be easier for me, but screw it. I'll go the extra 2 minutes out of my way to go save 10 cents a gallon because I know the next gas station is cheaper. And then yeah, at the same time, I'll go home and be like just on my couch browsing eBay, and I'm like, that was $400. That was $500. It's we live in maybe it's a good thing, maybe it's a super bad thing. I don't know. But
Just average Jeff. I just don't eat. Yeah, just don't eat,
just
and you
don't
save a
eat.
ton of money that way.
Yeah, don't eat, don't drive. Just you don't need a house. You don't need a roof over your head. You just go live under live under the underpass with your Pokemon collection. Build a house of slabs. Uh, all right, basic. So now I want to ask you a little bit about MetaZoo. So you were really big into MetaZoo for a while. You think MetaZoo is over because I mean, the amount of you've invested in MetaZoo has to be pretty pretty high end too. Like, do you feel that you've just been misled by MetaZoo, or what's going on right now?
So as I pointed out before on Discord, when a few folks reach out to me and they're asking me, just today, someone's reaching out like, "Hey, what do you think about Old Scratch from Nightfall? Now that Nightfall has dropped to whatever $60, what should I do with Old Scratch? At what price point should I look for it?" But you know, it, last year, 2023, I became a player. I became a competitive player. And from that standpoint, it's funny how it works. My segment, when I first started with MetaZoo, it started with collecting, especially the first year stuff, Kickstarter, pre-Kickstarters, especially. Those are the things that I really love. Um, Still, some of my favorite items in MetaZoo are pre-Kickstarter, pre-release to the public. But after the whole TCG arena and I started getting involved with it, that took the bench. The collecting aspect of MetaZoo took a bench, and now it's all about playing because you need to build your decks. Even decks in MetaZoo is not cheap. It's very expensive, much more expensive than Pokemon. And you need these cards to be competitive, to stay competitive. And so from that standpoint, sure, it became, but it's just essentially what I do even within this hobby. I'll turn off one segment and I'll turn on whatever I'm doing next. And so, even with this hobby collecting, if I go into the heavy flipping, even collecting and buying from that standpoint for the PC will take a slight, I'll turn down the level a little bit just so that I could go heavy on the buying and grading and whatnot. So,
Is it
um,
is it tough on you to see like the sentiment around MetaZoo right now? Because it seems like a lot of people are kind of in a way just a like analogy of just be abandoning ship right now. Like,
yes and no, right? Obviously, I love MetaZoo and I still love MetaZoo. I still believe it is the best. It has the best mechanics of a TCG. MetaZoo has it. I don't think no one can even have that debate. It's the most amazing freaking game. From a collecting standpoint, I'm still there. But with all the issues, all the recent issues, what that caused me to do is stop playing. And that sucks because I actually love the game more, the mechanics of it, right? Because it's so cool that the fact that now it's gotten to the point where I am removing myself from the playing aspect, that does suck, right?
you
Because
say all the issues. What was the biggest issue?
oh man, it's different issues for different people. I would say the main one, the main consensus for the average collector player person in the hobby, it was the delays. It was the treatment from the owners, Mike Waddell. And then when Mike Waddell switched his position to to Andy, Andy was the same, if not worse, you know, where they're very sarcastic with their answers. They're almost belittling you, you know, and as a person, like I'm looking at it and I'm like, I'm not that much. I'm not an emotional person. I just kind of like whatever, you know, and go the other way. But it gets to the point, everyone has a threshold, everyone has a limit. You know, everyone has different tolerance levels. And for me, I pretty much just turn a blind side, like, yeah, I see these are issues, but whatever, delays. I have orders from February that I still don't have. And they were supposed to be delivered in April.
Was that
And we still don't
Valentine's
have.
Day set or something like that?
No, this was the native pre-release kits.
Okay.
The streamer kits. I have another one midsummer, and then my most recent was third anniversary bundle. Still nothing. It's been 5 months since the third anniversary. I'm like, when are we gonna get it? Fourth anniversary? So I learned my lesson from that standpoint. I'm like, all right, along with the other things that are going on with how they're spending, how they're allocating, I'm like, all right, I'm not spending another dollar on drops. Now I'm just kind of sticking to the competitive aspect. But then they pretty much pulled the rug from everyone, and this big $1.25 million prize pool championship for year two, um, they just pretty said we're canceling it because of this whole Hello Kitty collaboration that took priority.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of speculations. I'm not even going to get to, you know, why it happened, why not. But at the end of the day, a lot of people they canceled it 2, maybe 3 weeks beforehand. People were already spending on flights, on hotels, on decks, on tickets to the Comic-Con, which is not cheap, especially when they were already sold out and you have to, you know, get it on the secondary market. Those are not cheap. I decided to wait until the last minute. Luckily, I did because, well, then they dropped the news. We're canceling it. This is where it got me. This is the one that really affected me. People in the chat were obviously outraged. Hey, we flagged hotels, we can't get a refund, yada yada yada, you know. And Andy's response were something like, oh, well, you just want the money, you just want this. Oh, sorry that, you know, we're canceling a game for you adults, you know. And I'm just like, what? The one
I
that
didn't know
really
all
got
that
me, this is the one that really, I'm just like, I'm out. I just threw in the towel. Was when a player said, hey, you guys said this for X amount of time. It was going to be in New York. And Andy's response was, we never said it was going to be in New York, which is the biggest BS they have ever said that's ever come out of their mouths or on Discord, you know, typing it. That to me told me, oh, you feel like our time is not valuable. You know, money is one thing. Me personally, I could put that to the side. All right, I can wait for the product. I can do this. All right, if it's canceled, I can still travel. I can still enjoy it in other ways. But it's once you start playing with my time and it's not valuable, and you can just say slap in the face, really, like it's almost like they're insulting our intelligence by saying we never said it was going to be in New York when they literally have been stating it all year long. That was the biggest slap in the face for me. That's when I decided I'm out from a competitive standpoint. Really, for the major part of MetaZoo, from that standpoint, I'm out. I still love MetaZoo collecting, and again, but it's really like the year one stuff. But I'm not pouring any more, not a single dollar to MetaZoo, and that's like competitive stuff, modern stuff, new drops, not a single dollar. Sorry, Dan. Sorry, Dan. I'm sorry to, you know, to tell you, but
So
yeah.
what does it take? Like, is there a way MetaZoo could come back, or is
Oh,
it in a
sure.
way like just too far gone at this
No,
point?
sure. I think, you know, listen, I don't think MetaZoo is going away at all. I don't think this is it. I don't think this is the nail in the coffin. It's the nail in the coffin for me, and I can definitely pound my way out of there. But they have to prove it first. They have
Mm-hmm.
to prove it first. They have to, you know, they have to prove it within, you know, if they get more drops out than or pre-orders, that they meet the actual, you know, expected time for delivery, things like that. Even tournaments, making sure that everything's going good. Even from the Andy and Mike standpoint, you know, how are you still treating your fans in 2024? Did you really learn or whatnot? And they released a whole letter. At this point, it's one of those things where like, all right, like you've apologized before, you've done the apology tour before. It doesn't change anything. Now it's just people are now able to see more clearly. And so therefore, honestly, it's a drastic amount of people that have dropped out. But again, that's all of those are just feelings. People can bounce back in. So it really comes down to how is MetaZoo going to behave from here on forward.
So one of the things I always thought about MetaZoo when it first started, and like one of my complaints was I thought they applied like dollar amounts to cards too much. And it goes to that very first Mike Waddell video. That's not even a public video anymore. I think they delisted it. Like it's not even public, where he was opening cards, talking a lot about value and showing them off, man, and comparing it to Pokemon, calling it their sets Charizard and all this. And just I felt that MetaZoo was dollar focused way too much. Now, a lot of the people that I think entered MetaZoo at the beginning, with the exception of people like you that were players, I feel like most people entered as collectors, but they were entering without like brand loyalty. They were just going after the dollar. And as sad as it is to say, because this is trading cards and I love trading cards, it felt like how I've seen people talk about like cryptocurrencies and these shit coins, where people talk about them as like a money-making scheme. And, that's how it felt to me.
Yeah.
So one of the things I'm curious, like, is if MetaZoo can really, really start to limit print runs. And I mean, it might be drastic at this point, but to actually start where they're still printing sets, but they're making these sets super, super scarce. Scarcity is going to drive up prices, even with the smaller amount of demand they have, if the scarcity is truly there. And I am curious, like, what happens if they're able to really crank up these prices by scarcity? Do you get a lot of those people that were in it just for the money? Do they come back in, or are those people gone forever?
Whenever you can rocket, go to the moon with anything, people are going to jump in. Fans, non-fans, scalpers, flippers, they're all and they're all important really to a hobby, but they're all going to flock. They're all going to flock in. So yes, to answer just very bluntly, yes, they will come in. But I think it's one of those. I think they've got a long road ahead of them. I've heard a few analogies, and one of them is like when you have an abusive boyfriend or girlfriend mentally, verbally, physically abusing you, and then you finally had enough. And then, let's just say they sincerely apologize, but the damage has been done. Mm-hmm. Right? So then what are you doing? And eventually they really, really have to prove themselves. The other one is, they're an NFL team that went 0-8. Now they have to go 8-0 just to get to the playoffs, just to win the fans back. They have to go 8-0. Everything has to go perfect. Does it really? Probably not. But this Hello Kitty one, partners, the LGSs, just people that are able to get distribution, they really got hosed with this Hello Kitty one. And it really sucks.
Partner pricing, right? Like it was only available.
Yeah, whatever it was, like $70, $75 maybe. Every single person. If it doesn't matter who you were, that's the price we were getting, which is fine, right? Because I mean the
unless
MSRP
you ordered on TCG Player and got screwed over, and then they dropped the prices for everybody. But
yeah, but that caused a whole avalanche. That was literally a domino effect once they did that. And again, the $70, even then, it's not that big of a deal, I don't think, because MSRP is 140. You're doubling your money. You're doubling your money. Obviously, there's other things that go into the equation, but you're doubling your money, right? Just up front. And so, but when MetaZoo is doing collaborations or partnerships with eBay/TCG Player, and MetaZoo has no control over what they do with pricing. Mm-hmm. And what was it? 3 weeks, 3 weeks later, I think closer to 3 weeks, they dropped their exclusive, their laziest drop they've ever done. My opinion, the laziest drop they've ever done. To me, it was just a tactic to move booster boxes. I have never seen Pokemon ever bundle a collector's box with booster boxes in it. They do bundles, they do packs, right? Blisters and whatever to get rid of product, but never a whole booster box at MSRP on top of that, right? So this one collector's box, $300, you get 2 booster boxes. That makes up $280 of that $300. Why not just get the individual boxes right, over here,
Yeah.
right? They sold 590 because it was only going to be available during this eBay live during Comic-Con. Well, guess what? No, it wasn't, because it was still available thereafter. But only 590 sold in a whole month. TCG player slashed their prices by 50%. Now they're 150, 149.99 for 2 whole booster boxes, which means that now instead of going to your partners or LGSs or whoever to go get a booster box for 140, you can just go to TCG player, you get 2 for 140. That just tanked the price immediately.
Yeah. Well, I think their problem too was with other sets too, was just they printed too much of this stuff. Like Wilderness, didn't they print like 100,000 booster boxes? And is this true? You're picking up Wilderness booster boxes from people for like fire selling them at $25? Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, $25 booster boxes, that's not healthy. But then I will give credit. In Pokemon, we have seen $25 booster boxes. There was a period of time where you could go to the Hills Wholesale Gaming in 2003 timeline, and you could pick up base set booster boxes at $25. That's why I really don't like when people are like, there's never been a time in Pokemon's history where booster boxes drop below $80 or whatever. You could pick them up, and it's like, I got a magazine right there that has an ad in it where you could pick up booster boxes for $59.99, and I'll show you. Just keep talking though.
Yeah. It's it's the craziest thing, honestly. And I think to date, they sold originally first month 590. After the slash, I don't think they've hit 900 total yet. So that just goes to show you what drives a set sometimes comes down to the monetary value of that set.
So there you go.
That's a pretty good deal for a Team Rocket box.
Yeah, only $59.99. Yep.
And Fossil.
Yeah. Neo Destiny, Jungle, Gym Heroes, Jungle, and base set. You could get any of those booster boxes for $59.95, and that was in January 19th, 2003. And that's not your lowest possible price you can find. That was like what you can get out of a magazine. You could order that stuff in bulk. So when people are like, there's never been a time in the history of this hobby where booster boxes have dropped below $50 or $80, MSRP for these booster boxes in 99 were 125. So MSRP for, Sword and Shield is 140, but it was still MSRP was 125. Like, let's everyone just pump the brakes a little bit. So listen, in MEMEZO, there is a chance that, maybe it could recover. Pokemon recovered. I mean,
Wilderness. Well, sure, right? If you're talking about if MEMEZO's still here in 20 years from now, Wilderness will recover. But Wilderness is the only set that was printed at 100K. The next largest print, which is maybe 4 sets, is 50K. And honestly,
how's that
Wilderness
set holding up though. What set is that? Is that UFO?
It's UFO, it's Seance, it's
How's
Nightfall.
that holding up dollar amount wise?
They're all easily under 80.
Okay.
Yeah. So and again, Nightfall, which is the most popular, arguably, or was the most popular, is now $60.
What about second
and that
edition?
one has the old scratch. That one has the secret rare. So Native, the only reason why Native is still like at 100 is because it probably, with the current meta, it beats Nightfall as far as playability.
Well, we'll see. We'll see where MEMEZO goes.
Yeah, and if anyone is out there selling Wilderness, it will be current market, if not better than market. And I don't mean, positively, negatively, but I've reached out to a few people. Wilderness, in the near future, there's no hope for Wilderness. It's just going to keep tanking. Can it go lower? Probably. It's probably going to stay steady though at $25 when you're buying in bulk. But there's just no hope for Wilderness because Wilderness is double printed based compared to any other set.
So I guess now's my time to start picking up some MEMEZO product. I do have my 1 second edition booster box, but that's it.
Yeah.
And now I'm just gonna have to start picking up. I love dead TCGs, and finally we have a true dead dead
Well,
TCG.
what is it? Second edition is down to $25 as well.
Is it?
First edition at 25K print is down. I think it's now under MSRP. I think it's at 125.
Where are Kickstarter boxes?
Kickstarter boxes, I heard that they're at 1100.
$1,100.
I
And what
didn't
was
look
the
that
high?
up. That was
Their high was like 9Gs or something.
I think the highest was 12.
12 grand, and they're
12.
down to a grand. Wow.
And again, I heard this from Nick Strength in Pokemon. I was just hearing it in the background, and he mentioned that the last one sold for 1100. So if it dips under, if it gets to like 500, which I doubt. No, actually, so he said the last one sold for 1100, and then the next couple are back to 1300. So maybe that's the bottom, right? Maybe that's when people start scooping them up at that price point. But yeah, it's funny how it was already trending down, but it's just crazy, man. Psychology, I love psychology. It's my favorite thing in the world to study. And Pikachu, the Van Gogh Pikachu was another one. I don't know if you remember one of my Instagram posts when I did the whole newsletter and front page. I put you on there.
Yeah.
And it wasn't so much that I cared about the value and how high it went up and how it was actually the psychology of it. Like we know that these things are going to be available tomorrow,
Yeah.
but we just FOMO so hard into it that we need it on day one and we pay that high price, right?
How
And
many of
then
those Van Gogh Pikas did you pick up?
I was only able to get two of them.
Did you grade
Only
and
two.
sell, or you still got them?
I still got them. Yeah, I kept them. They're pretty much for me. Yeah. Luckily, one graded a 9, so that's pretty awesome. That's all I need on my for my PC.
Okay. Oh yeah. If anybody out there doesn't know, Basic Trainer is a 9 collector, so very lucky that he's a 9 collector. It's cheap for a lot of that stuff. But I got 5 of the Van Gogh Pikas. I graded 3 of the 5. All 3 hit 10s. I sold them all instantly. They sold all 3 in the matter of 2 days.
Yeah.
So
Buy it now.
buy it
Just
now is the lowest buy.
best price. Yeah.
Yeah, lowest one I sold it at was 385.
Yeah.
So
Those are
free
dubs, man.
money. It was
Yeah,
nice.
for sure.
And then the other 2, I might actually send them now because I don't have anything to lose at that point. But so that's off MEMEZO. So what's your thoughts on the Pokemon market? I know you watch a lot of content and you do keep your ear to the ground with Pokemon. What do you think about, because you've been through the cycles now. You've been through, you know, a lot of XY. You've been through the Sun and Moon. You've been through the Sword and Shield. Now we're into Scarlet and Violet, and we're seeing what Scarlet and Violet booster boxes are doing right now, and which they really do in a way buck against the trend, because I wouldn't say Pokemon is in an unhealthy spot, even in the slightest, especially when you compare it to these other trading card games. Like Pokemon is hands down so much stronger, but yet we're seeing $80 booster boxes, we're seeing $85 booster boxes. Like, just what's your feeling on the market? What do you think? What do you think is really going on?
I think my natural instinct is to look at what what's happening in other TCGs. And if the same thing's happening in other TCGs, and I've always said, even with MetaZoo is probably going to get spanked the hardest because it's so new. The fan base is so small. Pokemon is huge, right? But then you look at, so why is every TCG, you know, going through this? It's macroeconomics, right? And especially towards the last quarter of the year, it's no news to us. December, January, February is going to be some of the worst, months in general for collecting for TCGs. So I feel like that's just directly attached. They're handcuffed. Whatever the macroeconomics is doing, whatever markets out there in the real world is doing, that affects hobbies. That affects these luxury goods. I think that's all it is. If the macroeconomics were if everything was great, everything was amazing, low interest rates, man, that box would be $200.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems like everything in this hobby, at least when it comes to sealed product, has really like just slowed down so much, recently. Like even the big sets. I know Evolving Skies, I know you follow Moonbreon like no one else. Are you up to date with the pop report? Is it up to 12,000 PSA 10s? It's gotta
That's
be.
12,000. I think actually the last time I saw 11 and 8. So that's it. Yeah, for sure. It's got to surpass the 12.
But even Evolving Skies, I've seen some sales. It creeped down a little. I mean, it's still strong. Like, don't get me wrong. We're still talking over $400 a booster box, but I've seen the prices start to creep back down. You know, they were selling at a high of around that 440 mark, and they're starting to creep down now. And I mean, that's the poster child for modern Pokemon. That's a poster child for Sword and Shield. And, you know,
I think, but as far as the pricing goes, correct me if I'm wrong, it's still in that 900, 1100 range, right? For a 10?
no, it's a lot cheaper than that now. I think
Oh,
it's
when
yeah,
you say
it's
a lot, what's a lot mean?
like $200, probably less than that.
Okay, all right. I still needed it
So I think
around.
it's like in the 700 range. I mean, I could look it up right now.
I
So
really want one just because of what I feel it means to the hobby now. Moonbreon, I think, is one of those just just like G.I. Joe. Moonbreon will forever be one of those coveted cards because of what it meant to a lot of people during this time. I don't think it can crash. Obviously, it can, but I don't think people will allow it. Um, give it enough prints, give it enough evolving skies, get ripped, and for sure that can. Moonbreon is just one of those
actually,
cool cards, instant grained. I want it now. I never wanted it
yeah, it
before,
creeped
and I
up in
want it.
price too again.
Okay,
Yeah.
where's it at?
So obviously, I don't know why this happens on eBay. One of them sold today for 820 with 34 bids. You can also pick up the same English PSA 10 Moonbreon at a buy it now for 800. So I don't know why does this keep happening? Like I think like a card like that though. I think that is the definition of like the newer collector though. Like how else do you get 34 bids and you're $20 higher than the lowest buy it now?
For sure. For sure.
So
And obviously, we tend to be conspiracy theorists as well. And like how many of those are shill bids? How many of those are,
you
and
can't
sure the
shill bid. No,
no, and sure. So, all it takes is one person to shill bid it, and then the ignorant, buyer is just like, yeah, okay, well, let's go one more, right? They're not paying attention to what the lowest on the market is.
yeah,
Um,
let me click on it. Let's see. Yeah, it's a legit seller.
But even the person, again, a collector like myself that really only sticks to vintage, I want the Moonbreon in my collection. I just need it at around $250 because
Yeah.
I don't value that card at 800, 500. I need it at 250, and even then it's like it's pretty pricey, but for what it is, for what it means for the hobby,
Hmm.
the special time and where it came up, I feel like it's worth the 250, but
Would
people wanted more. People wanted more. The
would you
newer
want it in a
collector,
10 though, or would you want it in a 9 because you're a 9
that
collector?
one has to be a 10.
Has to be a 10, okay.
Has to be a 10.
Has to be
Yeah.
a 10, yeah.
Yeah.
It's wild to I mean, you think about how many have been graded just in 10s alone, 12,000. You think well, I if you could pull up I mean, I could look at the total pop report, but how many packs had to have been opened and how many cards? I mean, not every single Moonbreon has been graded. Not every single Moonbreon has been graded by PSA. Like you got a ton of different grading companies. I would say probably the amount that have been graded, that is a more hype card, but it's probably still only 30% of all cards ever pulled are graded. It's probably 70% plus are ungraded, just sitting in binders or whatever.
Yeah.
How many packs of Evolving Skies have been opened? It has to be in the millions, right?
Millions?
It's got to be in the millions.
That's I mean, that's just a crazy number to wrap your, mind around, but I mean, obviously it can be. Yeah, it's Evolving Skies, just like Moonbreon, it's just going to be one of those forever, sets that it's a household name.
Yeah.
It's a household set. It's become one of those. So therefore, I think it will forever hold value. It's just a matter of what's the tipping point, right? Is it going to be the pop report, or is it going to be the fan base, right? Is it going to be the fan base that says, nah, yeah, I'm out at this price, or we learned our lesson, or they just get smarter with their money. But this card's not going away. This set is not going away. So yeah, again, I want one. If anyone's selling one out there for $250, let me know.
So I just opened up to the chat now. I figure we could go for a little while longer. Open it up to I know we've been ignoring the chat a little bit, but that's because I want to give you your like platform just to talk about MetaZoo because really you were so actively engaged in it, and I've seen what's kind of happening with that. And I know some people are positive, but I think like the death is still
Yeah.
is surely coming soon. But
And here's the biggest thing. To me, the biggest problem for MetaZoo now, because we know about the problems, we know the effect it had on the people now, the fans now. The pretty much the fans have turned their backs now. But that's just feelings that could always turn around. The biggest problem now that MetaZoo faces, now that they have a uphill to work with, now competitive players that were in MetaZoo, those are real die-hard competitive players. They don't care what they're playing. They just want to be competing at a high level. Guess what's competing with MetaZoo now? It's well, not only Pokemon, but it's One Piece, it's Lorcana, and all the players that I know from MetaZoo have transitioned. So it's one of those things where like crap, it's for yes, they could turn it all around, but now when everyone has pretty much forgotten about MetaZoo and they've gone into other games, it's really hard to then go complete stop to Larcana to One Piece to Pokemon and then go run back to MetaZoo. I don't think that's the way that it's going to work. So we'll see.
what are your
Can
thoughts?
MetaZoo?
Yeah, what are your thoughts on Lorcana and One Piece? And do you think a lot of like I asked this to Mason Cardinal Gaiman, do you think a lot of like some of the reasons that Pokemon, especially when it comes to modern sealed, is maybe not doing as great as we're used to seeing, especially with these recent Sword and Shield sets, how well those performed opposed to Scarlet and Violet? Do you think that it's because some of this money that usually is in Pokemon is moving over to Disney Lorcana and maybe it's moving a little bit to One Piece?
It could be. It could be, but also we're seeing the same things in Orcana, right? Orcana is dropping. I mean, I just learned the
Oh,
other day that
reprints, baby.
first chapter is on their third reprint. I thought they were still on their first one, and that it was very rare and very low print, and it was very hard to come by. And I just learned last week that they're literally on their third print, and sure, last print, but as they progress, the prints are only going to get larger. I'm not too experienced in competitive TCGs all around. MetaZoo's really been the only one, but there's been points where no, that's needed, right? In Oaks Discord, shout out Oaks Discord. A lot of folks have their give their 2 cents about how it's a positive all these prints, because when you talk about Disney, it's such a massive IP and such massive appeal that you need this to be accessible to everyone, right? At whatever the market calls at that point, but you need to be able to put this in everyone's hands.
Yeah.
Then the market decides what that price will be, but you need to be. But yeah, when LGSs were getting 2 boxes, 4 boxes, that's not enough, right? And only they can sell it to their fans. They can't sell it on, they can't. They have to sell it through the LGSs because of the strict rules for competitive play, but I think it's the same deal. The same deal. It's affecting prints are affecting it, and then once you mentioned it before, low prints can definitely sustain a set, can definitely sustain a whole brand, a whole TCG. But once you start printing, the values are going to go down. So now is who was who was the base of this TCG? Was it really real fans, right? That just doesn't matter. Was it only TCG players? Was it, and that's when you really start speculating, but that's when you can start defining who is the buyer right now for Lorcana by seeing who is not buying anymore, or maybe the other way around. The price going down kind of says who's not in it anymore, and that tells you what's going on with the TCG. Is it players? Is it collectors? Is it just fellow hobbyists? Right? I'll buy a
Yeah.
Lorcana box if it drops to like the right price, but
Oh
not
yeah,
at
I I
prices.
love I love random stuff. I'll
Yeah.
definitely be buying. I mean, I like the Disney IP. I have Anastasia cards because I bought those booster boxes for $5 per box. There's 36 packs in it. I don't even know what that math is. They're pennies a piece. But just average Jeff said he's watching a first edition Raw Charizard. It's at $1,383 with 4 minutes left. He says maybe it's mislabeled. He says it's the legendary non-hollow number 4. So
Oh.
the legendary collection non-holo is from the lava theme deck. And then he said 3,600 now doubled real quick. Please don't spend $3,600 on a non-holo Charizard from legendary collection from the theme deck, because you could just buy a sealed theme deck for cheaper than that. So please,
I'm pretty sure you can buy a PSA 10 of that card for less than $250.
no. Oh,
The legendary collection?
No.
That Charizard non-holo in a PS.
From the
No, no, no.
theme
You know what? No,
decks?
no, no. You're right. No, you're right.
No way.
No, you're right. Because the one that I was dealing with was a PSA 9. That might have been $250. So a PSA 10, yeah, it's going to be higher. So, but that still seems higher than a PSA 10, though.
Yeah, I mean,
Whatever that auction is going, what's it going for? He said, let's see,
well, he said
4,000 now.
4,000, but there's no way. I mean, there's just no way.
Yeah, the PSA 9 is the one that's 250.
Yeah.
So the PSA 10, I actually don't know the price for the PSA 10.
Yeah, I'm looking at one that's sealed right now that you can buy for $2,250 for a sealed deck. It's a beat up deck, but if you want the card, you would want to buy the cheapest one on the market. Let's see.
But what's the PSA 10 at though? That one's the real
PSA 10. So I'm trying to look at what like PSA 10 non-holo Charizard sell for. Geez, here's if you want a cheap one though, just a CGC 6.5 sold on December 6th for $47. If you just want to, I mean, obviously a 6.5 you would just crack out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's yeah, definitely you mentioned it before, what kind of a buyer are we talking about here? Is it a buyer that's going to look at pop reports, is going to 130 point, is going to look at the average sales, or is it just somebody that says, oh, I want this card, and they just think it's valuable, and so they go for it?
But he did say he's watching a raw first edition Charizard too, so I'm confused. He's gonna have to let us know, because he's got raw first edition, so that's a lot different when you're talking like a shadowless Charizard versus the non-holo legendary Charizard from the lava theme decks.
That could be a one-of-a-kind legendary collection first edition stamp.
Yeah, because it'd be one of a kind fake.
The Moonbreon PSA 10 pop is 9,600.
Wait, for which card?
Moonbreon.
It's 96. I thought it was 12,000.
I think that might be
total pop.
Total pop.
Okay,
yeah, that's what I saw. Yeah.
So KYJK, I don't even know how you say his name, but he said, what kind of litmus test was the price slash on MetaZoo Hello Kitty thing for the failure of the brand? If they had a home run in them, it seemed like that should have been it, and they blew it hard. Do you feel like it was a litmus test where?
Man, it's they blew it, man, because one, I feel like they didn't market it enough. Whether that was on MEMEZO's side, whether that was on Sanrio's side, both sides, they didn't market it enough. And really what it shows, because this was everyone's assumption, right? We all thought this. Even me, which I didn't care for Hello Kitty. I still don't. I was like, please don't make this thing cute. Do not make MEMEZO cute. I would hate that, but I understand that they have to go to the route where they need to, bring in kids, let's just say. It had, I feel it had zero impact with the Hello Kitty. Either A, no Hello Kitty fans came in, or B, it was all Hello Kitty fans buying this, right? Because fast forward a month and a half, fast forward 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 weeks after the 50% slash, they only sold 300 of them. I believe there's 7,000 of this collector's box, unique exclusive collector's box. 7,000 of them total. I don't think they've cracked 900 yet. And that's still after the 50% slash. So that just kind of goes to show, one, again, not only is it the laziest repackaging bundle, but also the set is actually pretty crummy. It's not playable. It's actually pretty crappy. All the arts look very redundant. It looks the same. It looks like you really can't differentiate one over the other when you're opening it. It's a small set of 100 cards only. So there's a lot of negatives to that set now, especially again players. I think players were the ones that were really sustaining the prices for these sets. Hello Kitty is not playable. It's just not. And so it really shows that they did not spend the time to make this set playable. They did not go through the R&D with it. So many things that went wrong with that set. So many. And the thing is, it took priority, which that makes sense. I'm not gonna debate that because that makes sense. If someone like Hello Kitty Sanrio comes in and you're able to collaborate, everything else takes a step back. You gotta, that's priority. But you upset so many people, and Hello Kitty just flopped, and now your fan base is gone. It's a tough situation.
You sold yourself to the devil, and it didn't pay off in that kind of sense.
Yeah. I think no one can really, fault them for making that move, but I feel like they just went about it the wrong way. It was very rushed, very rushed.
What do you think about so obviously I feel like there's stuff to learn from all these different trading card companies and learning from what did they do wrong? I feel like with MEMEZO right now, you could kind of see, okay, all the steps you just talked about is what they did wrong. For Magic the Gathering, you can see all the steps that they've done wrong recently. Overprinting a lot of this. They really should have cut back on print runs. This stuff that Rudy talks about all the time. The Amazon dumps really hurt that brand the same way as now you got this Hello Kitty, call it the TCG player dump. It doesn't feel good when you're trying to especially speculate on this product, and nobody wants to buy something and instantly lose 50% of their money overnight because it's now cheaper on a different platform. And then with Magic the Gathering, also you had the Magic the Gathering 30th anniversary, $1,000 for 4 packs of cards, so $250 per pack to give you that $1,000. That gave a real sour taste in a lot of people's mouths. And then now you have what Pokemon did with the TCG Classic Collection. People are hit or miss about that. The only thing is that's not, I don't know. It didn't bother me because I don't feel like that's a product everyone need. If you don't buy that product, it doesn't change your life, But do you think that there's stuff that these other TCGs are doing wrong that Pokemon is watching, or do you think Pokemon is just kind of on their own lane, not really watching what's going on with the rest of this market?
I think Pokemon is just so massive and so successful. They're on their own lane, but that doesn't mean they're not checking the rear view, right? That doesn't mean they're not checking for mistakes, for misplays, for flops, around the corner. If Pokemon ever had the chance for a Hello Kitty drop, would they look at MetaZoo and look at that situation like, didn't work for them? I think it would work much better with Pokemon, but it makes you think, right? It makes you recalculate where before it would be knee-jerk reaction, yeah, let's do it, but now it's like, you know what, maybe that's not the way to go about it. So just like we do, or at least this is my philosophy, we should be looking at everyone else's mistakes and we can learn from them, right? We share a lot of our mistakes in this hobby, whether it's buying, whether it's flipping, whether it's whatever segment we're playing in, whatever lane we're playing in, we share our L's, and a lot of people learn from those, right? And we share our wins, and a lot of people learn from those because they're making mistakes currently. And it's natural for anyone in Pokemon. If I don't feel like it's the smart move to not have one person watching other TCGs. And I think naturally Pokemon, and you really don't know the depth, right, of their personnel and what's their roles, but there's got to be even just one person that's interested in other TCGs that's like, hey, Nintendo, look, these guys aren't doing this right, and let's just make sure we don't dive into that, right? Let's just make sure we don't dabble with that, because look at what's happening over there. Even if it's not your job, they're still going to talk about it.
It goes back to the numbered card argument. There's a lot of people want numbered cards in Pokemon, and I pray that day never comes, because I think for Pokemon to get to that point where they have to start doing serialized cards and making that true artificial scarcity to it, because that's what a numbered card is. that means that Pokemon would have a really, really like bad time ahead of them to get to that point. I feel like that is one of the last ditch efforts that a lot of these card games have to do, is that serialized thing, because that is just creating this artificial demand, artificial scarcity. And we saw it happen with MetaZoo. We saw Magic the Gathering. That Lord of the Rings card was, don't get me wrong, that first release was huge. But now how many, serialized cards have come after that one of one, and then do you hear about any of them? Can you name any of them? Probably not. And don't get me wrong, when Pokemon releases a one of one Charizard that you can pull from a pack, I promise you, the same way everybody was talking about that Lord of Ring one of one card, everybody will talk about that Charizard one of one card, and it will help pump the market. But if you have that ace in your pocket, don't you don't want to play your cards too soon. And I hope, to be honest with you, that day realistically never comes and Pokemon never has to play that card. So
I think Pokemon's on cruise control. They're on cruise control and they're way ahead of the game. They're way ahead of everyone. Like they're not worried. Everyone's in their rear view, so they're on cruise control. But with that said, number cards. That's one. I've had this take before on lives. If they add number cards to sets, it would just ruin the values for everything else. Already commons and uncommons, we just chuck them, right? We instantly just go for the hit. What's the hit? Everything else is trash unless you get the hit. And when I say the hit, I'm talking about the hit of the entire set, the top 10 cards maybe, and even that's probably too many. But here's a very interesting thing that I've been noticing in the past couple months. The numbered cards for Pokemon are a thing. They're just not for Pokemon and sets, right? They're outside. There are other sets, the Bear Walker,
Bear
Pikachu,
Walker,
right?
yeah, the out of 500. We talked about
That
that
one
with Skater Nesto.
is it 250 or 500?
500.
500. That one went for a pretty penny. I was watching it. I'm pretty sure Professor Oak was watching it. I had my budget for that card of what I thought that card, what I valued that card for. I had my budget and it went, I think, 50% more than what my budget was. I think my max was 400 and I actually forget what it went for, but I really thought I was going to get that card and I didn't. But think about a person like myself going after that card. It's not the only one. There's 500 of them, and it goes for a steep price. When you compare it in prices, right? What else do you get for whatever price that went? Someone call it out if you know what that card went for. What other cards in our hobby, vintage, can you get for that price? The fact that number card, which is not even from a Pokemon set.
Yeah, but I think that's it. It's not from a set, so it just like I don't care to have that card. Like,
my point is, imagine what one would be if it came from a set.
Oh yeah.
Because there's Charizards, there's other cards, there's actually other sets from Japan and China that are numbered. I want all of those Pikachus, right? I'll pay 400, 500 if they're numbered, right? For the right price, the right card, the right grade. Imagine what a set card would do if it was numbered.
Yeah, imagine if that Moonbreon, if you had a 1 out of 100, so that means 100 of them exist, and then you would still have your regular Moonbreon, the non-serialized card. But if you had 100 of those Moonbreons, for like, I mean, you look at what a Beckett Black Label of a Moonbreon sells for. You're talking 4 or 5x of what a normal PSA 10 would sell for. So,
and that Bear Walker Pikachu is a super niche set. That's a super niche card, right?
Yeah.
Which means that your pool just got smaller and it still yielded what it did. Imagine what a set card, and now you open it to the world essentially. When you put number cards in a set, it would go banana. If a Pikachu card 500 was in the latest set, oh man, we're talking, I don't know, $2,000-$3,000. It's crazy.
Yeah. And KY was saying Pokemon having ultra chance cards and trophy cards, etc., is a much healthier way to have a very prestigious cards and putting them in boosters. I agree. I mean, we don't really talk about the trophy cards because it is just a different market, but what we are talking about are that main expansion like pull.
Yeah. It's I want them, but in the current form. I don't want them in sets. I don't think it belongs in sets, and nor do I think Pokemon is even, they maybe it's in the back of their minds, they're just like, flirting with it, but they're not really serious about it. They're just like, I wonder what would happen, but they're not really serious about it.
Well, I've asked the question to people on this channel. I don't know if I ever asked you, what do you think? I mean, obviously, a one of one Lord of the Rings card for Magic the Gathering sold for close to $3 million. What does a one of one Charizard in Pokemon sell for?
A
And the
brand new art.
brand new art, we're just gonna say shining, alt art, full art, beautiful artwork. It checks every box. It's beautiful artwork. It's got the shininess to it, and it's a one of one. How much does it sell for?
I mean, right, this is just dumb because it's to speculate on something like that is just, ridiculous, but it's a Charizard.
Yeah, and it's one of one.
The amount of there's the big whales that we know, and
The
then
Post
there's
Malones out there.
then there's just big whales that really aren't in the hobby. They just love assets. That would be an asset per se in my eyes.
It would probably go, out of the hobby. It would probably go to sports. You're right, to like a sports collector who has that big, deep pockets.
I think easily it crosses the six figures. It crosses 100. I think it's like between 100 and 250K, but there's people that think that that's $1 million card.
More than 1 million. That is
I just don't know. I think the lack of history will keep it down. As it gets traded, the price will go up.
I think
The
first
first
sales
price
of a
for that
card like
card,
that would be greater than 3 million. I think it would
it's
far
definitely
out.
is
It would
3
far out
million.
3 million. I think it would far out surpass the Lord of the Rings one of one card, which sold for 2.6.
Yeah.
For
No,
there's
if
no
people
way
if
that a one of one Charizard sells for less than a Magic the Gathering one of one card.
when you look at all the PSA 10 highest, coveted cards in this space, today's market isn't still the most expensive card, the Illustrator at what?
Yeah,
PSA 10
sure. I
what?
mean,
200?
with the biggest asterisk ever,
Sure, but
record paid to get a record kind of stuff. But
yeah, but with that said, what is it going for? 200? Right? Was that the last sale? 225?
oh, did you see that most recent like, oh my God, what a shill job Ken Golden did. Can we talk about that after we're done talking about I mean,
It's one of those like, oh, we're dumb. They think we're dumb. That's what
oh,
that's what that's what
it
that
was
says to me.
what was it? Oh my, I wish I could pull it up. It's like all the most recent sales of the Illustrator Pikachu, and then one private sale that Golden Auctions knew about of $2 million, and then all the rest of the sales are like 400,000, 300,000, 200,000. Biggest shill job. Like, I don't know. I mean, this is unregulated market, but how they don't get arrested for shit like that is
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah, it's again, when I see that, I was just like, oh, they think we're dumb. That's what that is.
Yeah. If
They
anybody
think we're-
has that and they could shoot that over to me, I will share that on the screen right now. But
yeah, it really is. I don't want to say disgusting because that's too like, out there, but that's just it's at that point. When I can just shake my head in disappointment, that's when it's an egregious statement on my end. Like when I just shake my head, like, all right, I see what's going on here. But no, yeah, a one of one Charizard, yeah, it would be a ridiculous price. 3 million. I mean, as it stated here, 2.6 million for the one of one. Is that the one that what's his face bought?
Post
Uh
Malone.
Post Malone.
Yeah.
2.6, right? And that's what we're talking. I mean, I guess technically he's in that hobby, right? But yeah, it no longer really goes to the whales that we think of the hobby, right? Those very household names. It would go to a big whale outside that, yeah, they like Pokemon, but they really have no ins and outs with Pokemon. They're just there. They're like, oh, one of one, yeah, I can afford that. Let's do it.
And the thing about it too there would be cards in this hobby that have way, way more historic value to them, way more historic significant to them. Cards that are probably more important for like the hobby as a whole. But I'm just telling you, because the hype that would exist around that card. that hype alone would be enough to push that card into those numbers. And now I could be honest with you. I will never be a buyer of that card. Even if I had the money, I would still not be a buyer of that card. But if I pulled that card, you bet your ass I would be a seller of that card. And I
wait, if you're a billionaire, you're not buying that card?
like sure, maybe if I had $1 billion and then I could throw
Okay.
around 4 million to have just a biggest FU to a lot of people in this hobby. But
I was just gonna say, if you're a billionaire, you're pulling that trigger,
yeah,
PK.
okay. I will pull it back. If I had, you know, uh Elon Musk type dollar amounts where you could just buy stuff and not care about it.
Honestly, I don't think it takes that much. I don't think it takes a billion, net worth. I think it's really probably like to spend 3 million on a one-on-one Charizard. If you're worth 250 mil, that's easy. If you're worth 100 mil, that's when it's like 3% of your net worth right on this one card. That's probably too steep, but anything
Yeah.
north of 100 mil, like you're buying that card. Yeah.
It would be an insane amount, but the craziest part of would be how many Pokemon packs are opened by people like me, people like you, people like that are in this chat versus how many packs are opened by kids. Now, the huge caveat with that Lord of the Rings, that came out of a special collection box. That was a $300 collector's specialty product. Like you had to already be pretty deep down the rabbit hole to be buying that collection box in the first place. It wasn't just a little kid that just wants to open a couple packs of Magic the Gathering that know nothing about. That kid would never open that box because it was too expensive. Pokemon now, you're talking $3.99 packs. 1 million Targets, 1 million Walmarts, 1 million Best Buys and GameStops and Party Cities and all these other big box retails that sell packs. Most of those packs are being opened up by like snot-nosed kids, you know? So the fact is, there probably would be some kid out there whose parents bought him the pack, let him open it. The kid would be super happy they pulled the Charizard. The parent would have no clue that it was labeled 1 of 1. The kid would have no clue it's labeled 1 of 1. And then they don't find out for like 20 years after the fact and then find out they're multimillionaires. That
Yeah.
would probably be, in reality, the more likely situation.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, that actually gave me an idea. I don't think they would do that because of that reason, right? Like it's
I mean, you kind of
what
want
what
that
what
to happen, though, because then
what
the
if
card never makes it on the market and people will speculate forever. Sealed product will go up at like exponential, you know,
so
because
that's
they'll
why
think,
again, I don't think a one-of-one in a set makes sense. Okay. But now let's play the game. Let's play the game that they add this other rarity level, and that's a numbered card. But we're not talking about 1-of-1, we're not talking about 1 out of 500. Let's say Moonbreon type of ratios. So what is it, like 1 per 1,000? Is
sure,
like
yeah,
the
that's
is
a
right?
one in 1,000, sure.
Right. So what do you think is the right number? Right. Let's just say that we're gonna do it. We have to do it. We're gonna throw a number. What number is that? What's the ultimate number?
1 in 1 million.
That makes sense.
1 in 1 million. Because the problem with Pokemon too is Pokemon goes back and they can reprint anything they want at any point. The second you do a serialized card, in theory, you can't really ever go back and reprint that set because now that serialized card is no longer going to be in it. And like Pokemon's a TCG, it's a playability set. So you're just going to know that that card only was available in the first wave, too. And then you get into all these crazy semantics of can you tell the difference between wave 1 booster boxes versus wave 2 versus wave 3? And given the track record of Pokemon, there's probably not ways you're going to be able to tell. So then it adds too many complex layers. So you would have to do one print run and it would have to be massive. So 1 in 1 million.
I don't know if it's that difficult. I feel like if they're successful, which they will, right? If they throw number cards in there, second wave, why wouldn't you do a second edition now? Why can't they just easily bring back second edition and the stamp is no longer in gold, it's in green or it's in brown or it's in, and now you have you can differentiate two different sets.
No,
It's a very easy
you're
thing.
adding too many layers. So now you're bringing back like in a way first edition stamps because you have like
Right.
I don't
Right. It's a
know.
very easy thing. But what I
This
was
hobby
getting
can't
at,
even handle modern first edition stamps. The hobby wouldn't be able to handle it. You would have $1,000 booster boxes at release.
But that's what I mean. But that's what. So my original question was more because you said 1 in a million. My original question was more of maybe I didn't like define it correctly. If you had to give it a number, is it 500? Is it 1,000? Is it 10,000?
Oh,
Is it 20? Because Umbreon, like how many Moonbreons in existence would you say
okay, I
right
got
now?
you.
Right? Is it 20,000 Moonbreons that are out there, whether it's graded, raw, what have you?
I
Right.
would,
So
yeah,
if
I
a
would say like
Charizard,
if for a card like that you weren't gonna have a one of one, you would want like a 1 out of 999, I think, or 1 out of 1,000 kind of thing.
oh, that's way too low.
It is low, but it would drive.
I feel like they can do stamp cards, but they wouldn't be rare. It would just, let's put it this way. Whatever Moonbreon and the actual Pokemon print run for Moonbreons is, just add the number. So let's just say if they
Oh, okay.
printed 50,000 Moonbreons, it's
One out of
one
50,000.
or whatever out of 50,000 Moonbreons. It's the same difference. It's just that now you're just adding a stamp. I
Yeah.
think they can go that route and have the same success, if not more, but just adding a number to every single Moonbreon.
And then you would find out how many really sneak out of the factory at that point because somebody would have like all of them in sequential order. Like, here's number 25,000 through 26,000, all
Yeah.
sequential order. Oh, I pulled them from packs.
And I think then at that point they can reprint and the market would not crash that set because again now if they print that same stamp whatever number they want to go to now maybe it's a smaller number because it's wave 2 but that's another thing because it's a smaller print because they want to get it out there to the hands of players collectors what have you now that one becomes even more valuable but now you have two Moonbreons to collect now
That
there's two
adds too many
different
layers.
ones.
That's like talking about Japanese like first edition stamps versus unlimited print runs. People still value the first edition stamps because they have the first edition stamp, even though the unlimited cards for a lot of these like Nintendo timeline Japanese sets are far, far, far scarcer, but people don't care. They're blinded by that first edition stamp.
So you think today a second wave or second print of a set today is less or is more than the first print?
No, it's definitely less. But
Right.
I'm
So by
just
making it
saying
less,
the market wouldn't value the second reprint more, even though it's less. They would still value that first edition stamp one more because
if you go from 50,000 Moonbreons and then the second print is 10,000 Moonbreons, you mean to tell me that that second Moonbreon would not hold
if
value
it had the
more than the
stamp
first
on
one?
it, yeah, I mean, if it had the stamp on it, but if there was no way to
But that's what we're
differentiate,
talking about. That's what we're talking about.
yeah,
We're talking
yeah,
about
but
the
then
steps. Hypothetical, obviously, crazy, crazy hypothetical, but
it's tough, but then you would lose confidence in the person that bought that first wave, you know? Because they'd be like, oh, I thought there was only going to be 50,000 of these. Now there's here 10,000 more. And then what happens if there's a third wave? Do they do another 10,000? You
but it's
lose the
unique.
confidence. You have
But
to
it
do a one and done type
but
situation.
it's unique. It's just like first stead, well, that was
Yeah.
more of an error, whatever you want to call it. But
No, I
first
got
stead
you.
Shadowless Unlimited, every single one, it's its own thing.
Yeah.
It's not one set; it's its own thing. And on top, and then you get into the real niches of gray stamp or
Yeah.
yeah. So
Thick
it's
stamps, thin
yeah,
stamps. Yeah.
yeah.
Like, no,
So
I got you. Uh, yeah. People are, that they hope it never happens. Uh,
I pulled
So
them up.
Punch Drunk Kick said Pokemon literally reprinted Sun and Moon. What makes us think that they're not reprinting Fossil and Team Rocket? So many openings on TikTok and whatnot. Where are they coming from? First of all, they are not reprinting Fossil and Team Rocket. One, it was through Wizard of the Coast. So they would be printing stuff that they don't even have the I guess maybe they do technically have the right to it, but to be able to do that, to be able to like copy card stock and do all that, I just think people out there have no clue how much of this product really truly exists. When it comes to Fossil booster boxes, when it comes to Team Rocket booster boxes, there is so much of this product that exists.
That is
Numbers that thousands of booster boxes are still remaining of this stuff. And it will for a long time.
that is the biggest tinfoil
Yeah,
theory.
I can't get behind that. I'm sorry.
But with that said, no, listen. to this day, I'm every time a fossil jungle unlimited, it doesn't matter. Like every time I see one being cracked, it's one less in the world.
Yeah.
One less in the world. Makes me
I mean,
happy.
there's people out there that could single-handedly themselves source 1,000 booster boxes easy overnight, you know? So if one person can source 1,000, base set unlimited booster boxes, how many of those can exist if one person can source 1,000? To be honest with you, there's probably some people out there who can't source 1,000 Evolving Skies booster boxes right now, with the exception of going on a TCG play or something, But like from people there's probably some people can't source 1,000 Evolving Skies, but they can source 1,000 unlimited base sets. So there's a lot of that product out there, and there will be for a long time.
Yeah, wasn't it Ken Lee recently, very recently, like a month ago, is when I saw a post where he acquired. Oh man, even this I can't remember. Was it one or was it like two, three, four sealed base set cases?
Yeah,
Uh,
Ken Lee did, and then recently, Pokerev picked up a couple sealed cases of Fossil
Fossil. Okay.
for his mystery packs. I think it was like 2 or 3 cases Pokerev picked up.
Yeah. Do those guys ever give up their sources?
Um,
Or is it very hush hush, like nobody can know?
yeah, I mean, a lot of it you could see the heritage auctions and stuff. You can see when
Okay.
Rev's buying his boxes from
Gotcha.
these different big auction platforms. Those Fossil cases came from, I believe, Heritage or Golden. It came from one of those. It was on one of the recent auction blocks. So,
One less in the world until PK reseals.
uh,
So so what's going on, man? How many Collecticons will you be? Or more importantly, which ones are you attending?
one guaranteed. That will be the Jersey one, Dirty
Jersey.
Jersey.
Okay.
Even though when I text CTR about it, like the day the schedule was released, CTR said, I forget what town it was, but he was like, that town's a shithole. That was all he responded back.
I was originally knee-jerk reaction hype about it until you said that on one of your lives that
Yeah.
CTR said it was shit. And then I was like, oh man, I don't want to go there no more then. So CTR single-handedly, yeah, crashed the market on Jersey. But I
Yeah.
really thought it was like Jersey City, at least, like big city Jersey. And it turns out it's not, it's a small town.
Yeah, I forget what the town is. I could look.
Yeah, and that Edison, Jersey, New
Edison,
Jersey.
yeah, that's it.
And that to me does, when it comes to traveling, that is probably the my priority on the list is which one has the big city so that I love big cities. I'm from Chicago. And so I love to just roam around, check it out, eateries. So you really can't do that with small towns. And once I learned that, yeah, it was Edison, New Jersey, then I was like, at that point I'm out. With LA, Atlanta, I'm all in because those are huge cities. I need to go there. I need to go check it out. Again, Chicago, even though it's Rosemont, but I know my way around Chicago up and down, so I can easily just go up and down Chicago. So, the other one, what is it? No, there's no new city in Florida, right? It's still Orlando, but Orlando is one of those that I want to go to as well. So it's what, a total of 10?
Somebody said one less in the world until PK resales it. So we could do a box open. We got Heart Gold, Soul Silver, Unleashed. We got Boundaries Crossed right here. We got a little Call of Legends sealed. We got a Triumphant box. Which one do you want to open? We could open any of these on this stream.
When did you get those, PK?
I don't remember. I bought a bunch of like open boxes at one time.
Okay. Because almost every single one of those boxes, I have, but in pack form.
Okay, yeah.
And
I
I
mean,
did
I
the
have
same,
all like
but it goes way, like, I don't want to say way back, but it goes to like probably 20.
I just got all the empty boxes. So this is Next Destinies, Dark Explorers, another Undaunted, and then just a pile of them over there. That's Noble's Victories, another Boundaries Cross, another Triumphant, another Heart Soul Silver base.
Yeah. Yeah, when I was going through because again, I was like, all right, I need to vend. And honestly, packs for me, I have too much in my collection that's just like I really don't enjoy this stuff anymore. I really enjoy slabs. I really enjoy very specific slabs like the Pikachu collection. What are you doing?
Oh, I'm opening up a Heart Gold Soul Silver Unleashed box.
Oh, that's definitely resealed. I'm out. I'm out. Pass. We're doing a rip and ship, and I'm out on this one.
Yeah.
You know what's hilarious? Back home where I used to work, for those who know, I was a maintenance tech, and they had this shrink tunnel, where it was meant for these little jars, it's like white powder that you add to fruits and vegetables to like keep them fresh. I forgot what it was called, but anyway, it came literally in Watsy box, or I should say the original three, or all the way up to the gym challenges, gym heroes.
Like silica gel, like that type of stuff.
No, not no, not the
You
gel.
want to put that on fruit though.
No, it's on food. It's I
Oh.
forget what it's called. Grocery stores use it to like keep their produce fresher and for longer. But anyway, this 4-pack, literally the size of a base Jungle Fossil box, because I brought one home just to see, because this is during the time where there was all this resealing talk, right? And so I brought one home to measure it up against, and literally the jar case was maybe a centimeter taller. I could send the base set right box, open it, run it through there, and reseal it. And that's what gave me the idea when this, because at first it was speculation, like how are people doing this? And I'm like, if a regular Joe Schmo like me is working in a place like this, the possibilities are endless for people to reseal, right? And so when
Oh,
you bring up
I could reseal this Heart Gold Soul Silver box that I just opened in the next
right,
2 seconds.
so
Like,
when you bring out, and this is me using a machine, if this
yeah.
is you doing it on your own, I don't even know how you're doing it, but it's just like that's definitely a thing. I'm lucky that I got my box way back in 2011, late 2011. But I remember that vividly. I was just like, whoa, like imagine if people had, I'm sure other people have access to shrink tunnels like this. Heat tunnel, it's a heat tunnel, or I should say it goes through a tunnel first to get into this wrapping. And then it goes into the heat tunnel to shrink it up. But yeah, I remember when you opened that up, I was like, oh, that's resealed. And if PK's resealing boxes, like Joe, yeah, people would definitely take advantage of that.
Oh yeah.
Whatnot has entered the chat.
100%. Here, I can do this. I'll reseal this box on screen. I won't show people how I do it, but I'll do it right here while we keep talking.
Wait, what are you doing?
I said I'll reseal that Heart Gold Soul Silver box right now as we talk. That
Jesus,
Unleashed
see,
box.
I don't know. I mean, other than using, I don't know, an iron, and or maybe, what do you call it? Because it doesn't take too much heat. You can use why are we giving these tips away? But a blow dryer. You can literally use a blow dryer, anything that produces heat, and it would just shrink it and seal it. But again, my thought process as you were doing that, it brought me back to that. So I was like, man, if are people really resealing? I'm like, I feel like it's a hard job. And then once I connected the dots and I saw the shrink tunnel at work, I was like, imagine if other people with nefarious, backgrounds really, they would 100% do this. And if PK's doing it in his freaking basement, when you can still see his whole body, you the only thing you don't see is his hands, and he could do it, forget about it. We're screwed. What's Ryan hinted at least? That's what Ryan hinted at least. PokeRev gets from PokeRev gets from CTR. Hair
Look,
dryer.
there it is. Ready? So it's already resealed, but now obviously it's loose. So then
Jesus.
the old heat gun.
Oh, the heat gun. Yep, that's right. Yeah, we used to have a heat gun at work just for that shrink tunnel whenever we used to work on those machines to melt the excess plastic away. Yeah.
Well, let me mute this so you keep talking so it's people don't hear that humming.
Guys, this is for educational purposes only. We are here educating the public, educating the fan base, the collectors, the players, the entire hobby, so that you can pay attention to these very, very obvious details in boxes, so that you don't get duped, right? They're all different though, right? Every single thing is different. If people are using shrink tunnels, I feel like it's more effective than a gun because it's so precise. You get the entire seam. The seam just looks so perfect on these jar cases that I was like, oh, someone could just eat. I can literally, right? I mean, I'm thinking, right?
There you go.
Yeah,
Look at that bottom seal.
that's insane. That's insane. 90%, 95%, maybe 99% of the hobby, you can go and sell that at a Collecticon. 99% of the hobby would not know. If they were
I mean, it
keeping it
doesn't have the
sealed,
Pokeball wrap on it, but this is just
okay,
for
so maybe
display.
50%, maybe 50% wouldn't know. 50% of people at Collecticon will still buy that box then.
Yeah, I mean, it got Astral Radiance packs in it. But how long did that take? And that's the thing. And
Yeah.
I try to make like a big stink about reseals and stuff, and people I kind of went on deaf ears because I think people think it's so hard. I hear people saying you can't resale like blister packs and stuff, and it's like, that's not true. People are like, you can't do all this stuff, and it's just none of it's true.
We all know we can trust PK.
Yeah.
But it used to be 100%. Now I'm trusting you like 99% because why is a heat gun at the ready in your basement next to
Next to the reseller.
along with film, along with
I spent a lot of money. Listen, I spent a lot of money figuring out how resales are work. And my whole thing was I need to figure out how people are resealing because if I'm going to talk about resales, like I need to know what one looks like. But I'll give you so
So this is a machine. I actually know the name of it. This is the machine that I would work on. Um, this is the exact machine. Oh, I can't share it, right? But if you guys, well, I don't know. Again, I don't know why I'm giving up this information, but it's called a Shanklin, or shrink wrapper. And it walks you through the entire process. Or at first is the tunnel where you would wrap your single item. There's belts. There's about 3 sets of belts with timers on them, and you just throw the boxes in, right? The operators or line workers would just throw the boxes in. The belts take care of the timing. The boxes separate, and then there's this other part of the machine where the film is coming through. It's a 2-layer film. It's one film and it's going through this and it's forming it and it's locking in the box. And then once it's locked in, there's a blade that chops it in between each box, and then it just goes through the shrink tunnel, the heat tunnel, and boom, you got it done. So again, I said if a Joe Schmo like me in the hobby has access to this machine, what's stopping someone that really has nefarious intent behind it and using it for their
like
game?
look, here's some just random base set cards, couple Sandshrews, Charmander, Charmeleon. Here's an Obsidian Flames pack. Just is all you got to do. You slide them right in.
Let me see if I can. That's what the machine looks like. I don't think I can share right in here, so this is the best I can do.
And there you go. And look, basic, and that pack's already resealed.
Resealed.
Look.
So maybe we should invest in this machine then. We can just make our own TCG by buying this machine. It's only 20,000 our best offer.
And then that's why like all these whatnot scammers and stuff, they're like weighing packs off screen, taking cards off, resealing like all these bounty games and stuff. It's just way too easy for these guys to scam. And we want to hear something cool. While I was looking for cards to resale, I just pulled out 2 Diglets, but look at this. So not that one. Ready? So look at that fighting stamp. Look at that one. I didn't even know I had this in this pile. I just was looking at the Diglett and I'm like, holy shit, it's a fight and error Diglett. Well, this must
Grade
have
that.
came out of a theme deck.
Gotta grade that and flip it.
Yeah. It's crazy. I don't know how long this pile's been sitting in front of me. I never knew that Diglett was in there until just now.
Yeah, same. I'm pretty sure if I go through my Digglets, I don't think I've ever really looked for it. But those are like there's a lot of errors in the base set like Vulpix, right? But that
Yep.
Vulpix is like common for every single one versus Diglett, it was corrected.
Yeah, so I want to say the Vulpix you're talking, yeah, I think that's like 100% of them, right? Is there a corrected Vulpix?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah,
No, they're all the same. They just kept it that way. I wonder if they ever caught it or they never caught it, and that's the reason why they're all that way. I've never heard of a corrected Vulpix.
yeah. So what's the Vulpix error again?
It's the I think it's the HP and the actual number at 50, right? Flipped around.
Yeah. Yeah, so
Uh,
here's one. So you can see it says
yeah.
HP 50, it's supposed to say 50 HP. But yeah, I think that's all of them have that error. I don't think any of them are corrected.
Your average or just average Jeff says I just saw a video. Someone they got scammed for an 151 ETB from TikTok, and that it has reseat and that was resealed, but they look normal to me, and they still had their hits. Oh well, then it wasn't resealed, right? If it still had their hits.
Yeah, I don't know. I think some people just don't know what reseals look like. I think they just get no hits and they think it's resealed. Like, why would you waste your time to reseal some of that and then sell it on the secondary market? Like, if you're gonna reseal modern product, you would reseal it to sell it on a whatnot stream because nobody could ever check the seal. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like you never, why would you put that pack out there and then potentially get caught with a resale? It's like, no, because if you're on the camera, then it just looks untampered with.
Right. Yeah,
And
that
you're
would be the way to go about it. Then again, shout out to the Slab podcast. The Green Shiz, his first box that he opened, his first UPC was resealed because he didn't get anything from that.
oh yeah.
And I you know me, I don't open modern. Even 151 didn't do it for me. I haven't opened a single pack, but I was like, you know what? It does look fun. Maybe I should just, buy one. Maybe I should just open it. And then I saw the Green Shiz's opening on the first. I was like, yeah, I'm out. I'm out. Thank you for that, because I would just be throwing my money away.
Yeah. Basic trainer though. I have work tomorrow. And
I
then
heard it.
after tomorrow, I got the weekend and then Christmas on Monday. And then I got the day after Christmas off. So I'll be on. I'll definitely be hopping into your 24-hour live stream again. If anybody doesn't know, if you just tuning in now after the fact on the live, Basic Trainer on New Year's is going to have a 24-hour live stream. There's going to be a lot of people in this hobby, a lot of people that you know that are going to be hopping in and out of that stream. I'll definitely be one of them. I won't be able to stay for 24 hours, but I'll definitely jump on. So do you have any people gave you like definites yet that they'd be coming on?
Yeah, I don't know if I should spoil it or not, but there's quite a. I was surprised at the big names that actually, hit me up that are on that thumbnail that I actually did not reach out to. It's like, hey, what's going on with this? Like, when can I? Where's the link? They're like, oh, it's on the December 31st, and you let me know you've got your spot. You let me know, I'll send you the link. You've got your spot, and we'll put you in there. Three big names. So you know what? I'm not gonna spoil it. Three big names, and I can't wait. Especially one, my all-time favorite. So I'm really looking forward to it,
All right,
guys. December 31st.
I know
I
one of them. I know one of. I know two of them now.
uh,
Names, and if one of them's your favorite, if anybody wants to go back and watch my previous lives, it's the guy that got Basic Trainer into this hobby. So
yes. So start time is still to be determined. To be honest, even though I have it set for 12 a.m.
mhm.
I'm actually thinking, and that's just because it doesn't matter because I'm kicking around the idea. I'm probably gonna start wake up time right after a full night's rest. I'm just gonna wake up on Sunday and whatever 9, 10, 11 a.m. Then after I finish my shower, maybe have breakfast, maybe then I'll go live and just go 24 hours straight. But I feel like that's the right way to go about it after a full night's rest. So it's still to be determined. But yeah, guys, 24 hours. We're gonna shoot for it. A lot of big names, a lot of your favorite faces of PokeTubers are going to be on there. Some of them are Hail Marys, but it seemed like some of them are really pulling through. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be fun. A lot of shenanigans, a lot of games, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. Check it out. Basic Trainer on YouTube, on Instagram, Basic Trainer. Check it out. It's going to be an amazing time.
All right.
Oh,
I'm gonna make you guys a deal. When I hop on to Basic Trainers Live, if you see me hop on, whoever is the when I hop on into the live, if once you see my face, whoever is the first person to type into the chat during Basic Trainers Live, Raichu is the best Pokemon, you will win this. So this is one of those Japanese stamp sheets. I gave one
yeah,
to Professor. Yeah,
okay.
so I gave one to Professor Oak for his Secret Santa. I think they're really, really cool. When I hop into Basics Live, if you type in Raichu is the best Pokemon, you will win this stamp sheet. I'll send it to you. And we could you know what? Let's give one of these away tonight. Because I got a bunch of them.
Awesome.
You want to give one away tonight?
Yeah, sure. I mean, they're yours. You want to give one away? Yeah, for sure.
Well,
Since we have a live chat, I'll just ask a question. I've been
yeah,
wondering
ask
this.
a question, and whoever gets it right, message me on Instagram, and I'll send that out to you.
I don't know if it'll be right because it's subjective. I just wanted to know. What do
Yeah,
you
you
guys
gotta do
recommend?
a question with an answer. You can't do subjective.
No, it wasn't regarding the giveaway. It's a
Oh,
question that
okay.
I guess I just needed the help of the chat for my live. Uh, obviously I'm gonna need something to keep me up towards the tail end. I don't drink coffee. I'm not big on caffeine. It makes me jittery. It makes me sick, honestly. But I'm gonna need something. What do you guys recommend for, is it Red Bull? Is it 5 hour? What do you guys recommend that's out there as far as energy drinks or whatever? But anyway, yeah, PK.
Yeah, you could do Red Bulls or something. I wouldn't drink alcohol during it, or
No,
you
no,
did
yeah,
like sporadically, maybe at the end, because that will knock you right out.
yeah,
Especially,
yeah. I'm
but
not doing that for
yeah,
sure.
do a trivia question. I don't know, whatever you could think of
Trivia question.
for the
All right, you
chat.
know what? Screw it. All right, you know what?
Whoever's the
Screw it.
first to put the correct answer will win this stamp sheet. I'm gonna limit it to the U.S. though. Just
At the risk that it doesn't show up, but kind of PK already pretty much stated who I'm referring to because I said my favorite person in the hobby, a big name in the hobby. Who is that person? Who is my favorite person in the hobby?
And for anybody out there, who was the person that helped really get basic into this hobby? I will give you guys a hint now that if you did know, you probably already typed it by now. But here's your big hint. He has one hell of a PSA 10 WotC collection.
Curtis Liddy says, get 5 hour energies. I've been hearing this one a lot because it has no crash and whatever, but
Nah.
I don't see anyone. I don't see anyone typing it in. I mean, I think at this point,
Curtis said TCA. It's not TCA. TCA is one of the true goats, but it wasn't TCA.
I think you should put a time limit on this. If they don't get it, they don't get it. Man. They're just gonna have to tune in.
I gave a huge hint. Maybe I shouldn't have gave the hint.
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to have him on, and I hope to be able to interview him. And even if there's a few folks on there, I'm definitely gonna aim because I remember when a huge milestone was hit. I wanted to have him on, but then life got in the way, schedules got in the way, and so I'm really looking forward to if he's able to make it. I'm really looking forward to interviewing that process and a lot of aspects of that specific milestone.
Somebody
Pokemon.
said Pokenomics. It is not really. People don't know who this is. I thought my hint would have gave it away like easy. Oh, there we
Oh,
go.
someone's got it.
Godly Shad, you are correct. Hit me up on Instagram. The link to my Instagram's in the description of this video. Shoot me a message, send me your address, and I'll make sure I get that stamp sheet out to you.
No, this guy's just guessing.
She's just spamming. Didn't even know Gem Mint was the right answer.
This guy's just guessing. Got
That's
it shot.
that's cool though that Gem Mint said he would hop on.
No.
But yeah, basic man, I appreciate you, buddy. It's always fun to catch up with you. I'm excited about this 24-hour live stream. And to be honest, I might be something that I could just listen to in my earbud at work for like a solid week, especially if you have a lot of good guests on there. It will be something I could definitely listen to.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, man. No, well, I mean, obviously, thank you for having me on as always. Always fun coming in and always fun talking to you, man. Can't wait to see you again. And it sounds like it's only gonna be Jersey, so I might have to pull that one. I might have to pull that one, but
Jersey's a definite, maybe Charlotte. I don't know about Charlotte,
okay.
but
Okay. So yeah, man, thank you for having me on. Thank you for allowing me to talk some zoo with you, which is, pretty crazy to, because a lot of Pokemon people don't like talking about the zoo. So I
yeah.
appreciate you having me on for that. And also obviously, promoting the 24-hour live. That's gonna be fun and huge. So hopefully it's huge. Hopefully it's huge for the hobby. Hopefully it's great. Hopefully it's entertaining for the viewers.
Yeah, and if anybody's not subscribed to Basics YouTube channel to watch that live, the link for his YouTube channel is in the description below, and then right below that is also a link to his Instagram. I recommend you guys giving him subscribe on both YouTube so you could see that live when it happens. Like, there's going to be a lot of people in this hobby that you're familiar with, especially if you watch this channel. And then obviously give him a subscribe on Instagram. Basics always posting cool stuff. But yeah, guys, appreciate every single one of you. And as always, I'll catch you on the next video.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Oh. All right, man.